Welcome to r/pro revenge, where OP grabs his CEO by the balls. Our next Reddit post is from Reddit admin Dumb. To give you some background, my friend Tim has been programming since he was like 7 years old. Tim said by the time he got to college, he breezed through most of his comp sci classes because a lot of the content they were covering he had already mastered years prior. Tim is an excellent programmer. Tim's career has been quite successful. He's worked for Google, Facebook, Amazon, and finally a hedge fund. This story starts at the hedge fund. Tim works a lot with AI technology, and at this hedge fund, he was the lead programmer manager who spearheaded an effort to optimize their AI that helped them complete literally millions of trades a day. To say that his work had a massive impact was an understatement. All of this was going on with COVID-19 in the background. Due to COVID-19, they went to a work-from-home model, where my friend Tim kept working. During work from home, Tim was looking around his fancy $4,500 New York City apartment and wished for things like a yard, a heated pool, a nice 3-car garage, and not living in a high-rise. It dawned on Tim that he could leave New York City. So Tim moved back to his hometown in Michigan, where he bought himself a really nice home with a heated pool, a 3-car garage, a nice yard, and guess what the yard had in it? A mother-in-law suite, which was essentially a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom second home on the property of his main home, which he turned into his man cave. It's actually pretty sick. Oh yeah, and his mortgage payment was far less than the $4,500 a month rent, like half as much. Tim spent the rest of his COVID-19 working from home, pounding out projects. He never actually informed his employer on an official basis that he moved. He just kept working. Then COVID-19 ended. Tim's boss, Larry, calls him up and goes, "All right, Tim, on Monday, we're starting work back at the office." And Tim goes, "Yeah, about that. I moved to Michigan." Larry is shocked and goes, "You didn't even ask if you could do that." And Tim basically said, "I didn't know I needed your permission to move," in a sarcastic way. Larry insists that Tim needs to move back to New York or he won't have a place on the team. Tim says he's always been doing the exact same work from home at a high level for the past year. He is willing to travel to New York City for a few meetings a year on his own dime, but he feels his quality of life is so much higher outside of New York that he has no desire to live in New York City. To which Larry said, if Tim doesn't have any desire to live in New York City, then he has no desire to keep Tim employed. Now, dear Reddit, what do you think a talented senior programmer with over a decade of experience, who specializes in AI technology, is going to say to a response like that? If you're thinking he quits, you'd be absolutely right he quits. Now, anyone who's done any programming knows that sometimes the best person to maintain the code is the person who wrote the code. There's logic, there's thought processes, there's so much that goes into programming that can be so individualistic that it can be hard for someone to take over code base that they didn't write. 6 weeks go by when John, the CEO of the hedge fund, calls Tim. John gets Tim to agree to consider coming back. So that's when John suggests they fly Tim to New York City and he sits down with the CEO. Tim, however, flipped the switch and said, "No, how about you fly out to Michigan and we discuss this?" Tim said that because he wanted to establish if he was going to come back, it was going to be him working from Michigan. And if he was going to talk about employment, it was going to be done in Michigan. The CEO agreed, and 2 days later, he flew out to meet Tim. Tim sits down, and John says they really need him because he provided a lot of value to the organization, and the programming team is struggling. John offers Tim the opportunity to come back with a 20% pay cut. Since, by his logic, he won't be living in New York City, and John called that a cost of living adjustment. To which John said, "No, I want a 15% raise above what I was earning." John sits back and responds, "The reason we pay what we pay is because we ask you to live in New York City, and we understand that's an expensive city to live in." To which Tim says, "You pay what you pay, and you pay it because I'm worth it. If I wasn't worth what you pay, you wouldn't be paying me. Now, my first condition is if you want me back, it'll be a 15% raise." John goes, "And the second?" "The second condition is I'll come back as long as Larry isn't there." John sighs, "You're asking for too much." To which Tim goes, "You don't need to bring me back if you don't want to. I'll be fine elsewhere." John goes, "I'll talk to the partners." Tim says, "My offer's good till Friday." John goes, "What do you mean?" Next Monday is when I'm going to start looking for work. This offer is good until Friday. It was Tuesday. John leaves. That Thursday, the phone rings. It's John. Tim, we're transferring Larry to a different fund. He won't be working with you anymore, and we're fine with giving you a 15% raise. Can we send you an offer letter for you to sign? Tim said, of course, and Larry's really gone, and John says, yeah, you'll never need to interact with Larry ever again. That was the start of this year. Tim hasn't been in New York City, he hasn't heard from Larry, and he hasn't seen Larry on any communications. Man, it's crazy how much flex some people have to be able to force the CEO to fly out to meet you about you being rehired. Big ball energy. Our next Reddit post is from Tough Plankton. A few years back, my old car was on its last legs. My mechanic said that it wouldn't last much longer, and the best thing to do was sell it cheap and move on before it gave out and was ready to be scrapped. I loved that little car, but I put it up on Craigslist for $500 and got a bite. The guy buying it was in his 20s with a pregnant wife, and his dad was footing the bill. It was clear that it was sold as is, and I couldn't make any promises about its longevity. The buyer said that if it lasted 6 months, he'd be happy with the purchase, so he signed the bill of sale and I handed over the title. I immediately went to the DMV website and registered it as a sale and assumed that he would finish the process by transferring the title. Turns out I was wrong about 2 things. The car lasted much longer than 6 months, and he didn't bother to pay the $77 to transfer the title. I discovered this when I received a photo radar ticket for running a red light. I was confused because the street was way across town in an area I rarely visit. When I went online to view the high-res traffic cam photos, I found that it was the buyer in my old car. But my name was still attached to the plates. After some serious cursing, I copied all the records, dates, bills of sale, etc. and mailed copies off to the courthouse. It was his citation, but I had to prove it in court. 2 weeks later, I get another letter from the fuzz. Another ticket, this time for speeding. Same driver, same car, same plates with my name still attached. Again, I had to copy all the paperwork, write a long letter to the clerk, and mail it off to the courthouse. The third ticket really made me mad. I started making calls and discovered that this scam is pretty common. Some folks buy a junker and rack up fines until they wreck or abandon the car. And their name was never on it, so nobody bothers to punish them for it. It's all on the previous owner to clean up the mess and prove who was at fault. This time, I wrote an extra long letter to the court clerk and did a little research to include the guy's picture, home address, and listed phone number. A month went by and I thought it was all over. Hell, the car should have given out by now anyways. Then the fourth ticket arrived, showing him in high res zipping past a radar camera in my old car with my old bumper sticker still on the back, and all his kids piled in the back seats. The fifth and sixth tickets felt like Groundhog's Day. I didn't even bother to put the paperwork away. I kept it on my desk ready to copy. By the time the seventh ticket arrived, we were well over a year beyond the sale, and enough was enough. This wasn't just some dude forgetting to do some paperwork or not knowing the right way to go about buying a car. This was intentional. It was time for some pro revenge. First, I called the police, and after a week of back and forth, finally spoke with a traffic cop who said enough is enough and went to pay the guy a visit. He said he couldn't disclose what would happen during the discussion, but the total amount of the likely unpaid traffic tickets was enough to get his attention. The tickets and late fees were several times the value of the car. That wasn't enough. Just having to pay his tickets wasn't appropriate for the 7 freaking times I had to copy that damned bill of sale for the court clerk. So I started going back through my records of every ticket and every photo. And I found an interesting theme. In every photo, his tiny kids were in the car, including the newborn infant, all packed into the back seat. I called Child Protective Services anonymously. I only provided information that was 100% factual and verifiable. The ticket showed that this guy was operating an identity fraud scheme out of his home, essentially stealing my identity and who knows how many others. His children were present throughout. Furthermore, he regularly violated traffic rules and put his children in serious danger by speeding, running red lights, and committing other traffic violations. If he was doing this stuff so often in front of a big white camera, how do you think he was driving when he wasn't being watched? I gave them all the evidence I had of 3 small children in repeated dangerous and illegal situations, all of which were verifiable by photo evidence and court documents. After that, I stopped getting traffic tickets from them. Maybe the car finally gave out. Our next Reddit post is from Three-Eyed Ghoul. Way back in 2006, during my first year in high school, I was bullied by this new guy in class, Billy. Billy was what other people would call cool. He's got the looks, the height, and most importantly, the manipulative personality. This guy tormented my 4 years in high school with daily bullying. Calling names, threatening physical contact, humiliating me in front of other people, and spreading false rumors about me are just some of the things that I went through. The reason? I don't know. He probably never had a dog in his life. Fast forward, we finished our high school and I moved to another city to study for college. As for Billy, I don't know what happened to this guy, and I didn't really care. I went from a shy introvert guy to an outgoing, everyone's my friend type of person during college, where I finished my degree in dental medicine in 2016. I became really active regarding my profession through community works and civic actions, and expanded my connections. After a year, my high school was about to reach its 50th founding anniversary, and the Alumni Association was planning for a grand reunion. I was added to the group regarding this event in Facebook, and there I saw Billy's profile. He did not make it great in life, regularly changing jobs, most of the time unemployed, and a wife engaging in illegal activities in which he takes part. Now, the illegal activities I mentioned here is performing dental work without a license for a very cheap price. They installed braces for $60 USD to curious teenagers and adults alike. I cannot even describe the feeling I got when I remembered the nightmare that I had in high school and how I had the chance of revenge. In our country, one law states that if you do dental work without a license, you'll be in prison for at least 2 to 5 years, and you have to pay fines adding up to about 6,000 USD. This guy did not attend college. This guy did not have a license. This guy is in no position to do dental work. Having sworn to uphold my profession and prevent harm to others, I did what any licensed dentist here would do if they knew someone was practicing illegally. So I called up some people within our local dental chapter so they could connect me with the other chapters and do some kind of entrapment operation in Billy's area. A cop went undercover and ordered dental braces. Other cops went in as Billy's wife was putting the braces in the cop's mouth. Both of them went to prison. Billy never knew that it was me behind his imprisonment. He and his wife are still in jail, and the verdict is yet to come. It is a bailable offense, but I doubt Billy saved enough for the two of them. The justice system here sucks, so it would probably take a long time in jail while the case is in process. Also, OP points out that this happens in the Philippines, where 6,000 USD is a ton of money. Our next Reddit post is from Starlux, and this post comes from a news article. An Ohio woman whose car was repossessed by the dealership just 1 month after she bought it has pulled off a revenge move for the ages. Tia McCreary discovered as she explored legal options against the company that the dealer failed to renew the registration on the company's name with the Ohio Secretary of State. So she registered it in her name, then hit the dealer with a cease and desist order, ordering them to no longer use the name they've used since 2012. The case is still pending. That was r/pro revenge, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.